Hi, welcome to the third episode of the Subversive Stitch podcast. My name is Anna Marie, and yeah, thanks for joining me. I guess normally you would like start with what you're wearing, but actually I'm gonna come back to this, so I'm just gonna talk about it when I get to it, because it's one of the things I finished recently. I am not going to edit very much, so please bear with me with all of my like awkward silences and saying thousands of times. I am also going to redo my hair. Okay, so I guess so, like basically everything that I have to show that I finished in January and February, and then I basically didn't really knit, or at least not finish anything for like 2 months there, because my like hand pain was just like super bad, and yeah, it made me really sad. But then in the past few weeks I've begun to be able to knit for longer periods again, and my hand pain, I guess, has also just lessened in general, so that's good. So yeah, basically everything I'm showing you I made in the first 2 months of this year. So the first thing I finished in 2023 was this, which I have worn and is now looking like a bit more fuzzy. But this is the Tea Rose slip-on, which is a free pattern based on a vintage pattern, and the free pattern was upscaled and released by Retro Claude, who's a YouTuber on YouTube, who does vintage knitting a lot. And yeah, I loved her version. There's like a whole video where she makes it, and it's this version, and hers is also made out of drop snow, which is like a roving yarn, which is one of the reasons why it's like super well, like it's quite like fluffy, and you know, I will take some video of me like wearing this so you can kind of see. But basically the reason why it has this around the neckline is because I don't really like how it looks without pulling this tight. So it's like sits further up around me, and then it like it feels like it cinches in a bit better. Yeah, I knit like the penultimate largest size, but then what I did was, because I was worried when I got to, basically you knit it like, sorry, this isn't very, but you knit it from, it's seamed, so you knit like from the bottom to the shoulders, and then you go down again, and then you pick up for the sleeves, which are just these like sort of interesting little lanterny puffs, and then you seam it all up down the sides. And I think this is probably the first time I've done that. I mean, yeah, I haven't really made like garments like this before, I guess, because I haven't actually made that many like actual garments. So it was all an experience learning that. But basically when I was knitting, I was really concerned that it wouldn't fit over my shoulders. So I made the largest size amount length that you do with the shoulders. I can't quite exactly remember like how the shoulder shaping worked or anything, but I actually shouldn't have done that. Like, considering how the fit is, it's not that good. Alright, sorry, I'm obviously having hair trouble today. And I think I knit this on 10mm needles. I think I did also talk a bit about this in my previous episode, because I was probably like knitting it on then. Yeah, I am happy with this, and I do like the colour, and you know, but it just, I mean, it is quite bulky, and also because of the fit like not being quite what it was. And I mean, I did think about undoing it, but I didn't want to. And the other thing I guess as well is like the sleeves. I don't really know how much they add. I mean, I kind of do like them, but then I also think that this would be nice as well, like just if they didn't have the extra sleeve section. But yeah, happy to have made it. And I did wear this on the picket line, and it was very warm during like January and February, so that's nice. And it's also UCU, one of the UCU colours, so it worked perfectly for that. So the next thing I finished was this, which is what I'm wearing, which is a look at my holes that I modified basically just to be a dress. I did also modify it in the sense that the pattern doesn't have such large holes. And for this I did use 12mm needles. I think like the pattern originally makes you use like 8 or something, but obviously, yeah, the yarn that I made this out of is a cotton Aran yarn. It's like Drops Paris, and this was basically what I also made with a bunch of the leftovers from unraveling my Harry Styles cardigan, which I think again I also talked about in my past podcast episode, hopefully. Yeah, again, I'll like insert some footage of me actually wearing it so you can see the length. It doesn't have like a consistent pattern repeat because I didn't have enough yarn to do all of that, so like the yeah, there's like a little tiny bit of purple right here, there's this small amount of the light blue, which I didn't have enough to actually do consistently on the body. But I do still have some leftovers of, I think, these 4 main colours. The red, the orange, the yellow and the green, like the darker green. And I do have some plans for what I'm going to do with some of the darker greens, so that's good. Yeah, I'm like super happy with how it came out. I also, yeah, you can see like some of the ends hanging off it, but that's because I kind of decided to like go for that look, partially because I couldn't bear to like have to sew in all of the ends, but also because I do think it like adds to the kind of like slightly like hippie charm. But yeah, it's obviously going to be like perfect for like a summer outfit and also for wearing at the beach and things to look cool. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about this one. The next thing I made actually was for Mari, which I don't have because I gave it to her, and it was like a neckerchief to tie around to keep her warm, made out of pink and blue yarn, which I think I based off of a free pattern that I'll also leave linked below. I'll leave everything that I speak about linked below, or at least like mentioned below. And yeah, so she has it now. So it's like a trans flag coloured neckerchief, and yeah, it was cute. I kind of like made up the pattern too, I think, and it wasn't like, it didn't come out to be a triangle in the end. It was sort of more like a diamond, but like a pulled diamond. But I think it was a success. And then the next thing I made was actually crochet. So I crocheted this, which is for my iPad. So it's like an iPad cover. Yeah, my dad gave me his old iPad that he wasn't using so that it's easier for when I go on campus and go to the library and blah 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 for research. And I wanted to make sure that it was kind of safe, so I made this. I haven't like made any kind of closure. I just like pull it down and then put it into my backpack, and for now I'm like happy with that. I might do something else. I did originally plan to put like a button on, but then I just couldn't really be bothered to like faff about with it, and I'm not like a big fan of crochet, so I did just kind of like hodgepodge it all together. But I do really like the colours and like the yarn choices that I made. Obviously there's like a theme of all the pink. Yeah, and some of these are just leftover yarns, some of these are yarns that like I got given and I don't know what they are. This is like a woolen acrylic mix that again I think I got given, but I thought all the colours kind of work nicely together, so yeah. Okay, and then the last finished object is this, which I'm not really happy with how it came out. It was a test knit. It's called the Ramosa hairband, and I really think that looks really nice in like everybody else's tries. I think part of it was like I knitted this like for a test knit, which meant that there was like a time constraint and I was pretty stressed, and then like, because this whole year has been pretty awful, so I don't feel like, you know, it was like as joyful as a lot of my other like creations are. And then also I just don't think I really got like the fit very well, and like I don't really have space to properly pin things out. I mean, it looks cute and stuff, and I will wear it. I just feel like, yeah, that it's like a floral pattern. But yeah, it just I didn't really get the definition or like the openness that I thought I would with the pattern. And then also, again, this is all me, not the pattern. And then also like I've never like really grafted something together before, and I did a really bad job. In fact, I'm not going to show you, but it doesn't look good. So, you know, and again, I partially did that because I just didn't have time to like really practice it properly, I think. So, you know, yeah, it's, you know, it's workable, and I definitely think I will revisit this pattern. Another thing I wanted to say, like, that's not really a finished object or anything, but I think I spoke a little bit before about like learning how to backwards knit, or to, yeah, like reverse knit, and I have begun to do that, and partially I wanted to learn to do that so that I didn't have to purl as much, which hurts my hands more than just regular knitting. And yeah, like I'm not good at the technique, and it doesn't like really mean that I'm like knitting in a way that doesn't hurt yet, because it's still not very like intuitive for me, but I'm like practicing and making progress with that, and that's a very exciting thing for me, I guess. So in terms of like current works in progress, I don't have like any particular updates on a couple of them. So like there's ones I talked about, like the mushroom, there's also some nagu that I barely made any progress on, which like mittens. I did make a little bit of progress with my parrot shawl, but that was sort of when, you know, I wanted to be knitting that right when my hands were just like not gonna let me, you know, my joints were on protest, on strike really. So I sort of, yeah, I moved away from that for a while, and I just didn't knit, like I said, for a while. But then part of this is because like I was gonna see my mum, and I need her to like try on this capulet blouse I'm knitting for her, so I knit a little bit more of it, and then that's sort of what has led me again into like being able to knit a bit more, like what, or at least what I've been focusing a bit on. So I have made some progress with this, so now this is what it looks like. So I've knit the front, and then on the back I just need to do like the ribbing and then the straps, and then I'll join them at the top and then pick up the stitches for the sleeves, and then it'll be sort of on its way to being complete. Obviously I do need to finish off, then there's like some more ribbing around here, but that's obviously what you do near the end. But yeah, so it's good I made some progress on this very not summer friendly piece of knitting. I do feel like yeah, I don't know, but it's also, I did start this a long time ago, and I want my mum to wear it, and like she can't if it's just not finished, and yeah. So that's that. I think this is like one ball of yarn, like one skein of the lavanda malabrigos rios, which is sort of wild, but my mum is yeah, much smaller than I am, and obviously this does stretch a bit, but yeah, I think I might be able to do this with just two, or maybe just breaking into the third skein. I mean, we'll see. Obviously there is quite a lot of yardage in the sleeves because they're like billowy sleeves, but I'm not sure how billowy my mum will want them, so yeah, we'll see. But it was good to make some progress with that finally. So yeah, then I have a couple new works in progress, which are very exciting. Okay, this isn't quite like the order that I like cast things on, but I'm just gonna like do it in the, with the things that are closest, and then we'll keep going. So something that I think I'm gonna knit, I mean, I know because I started it, but anyway, I got excited about the idea of knitting a cloudbow, which is like a dress, or it could be a peplum top actually, but I obviously want the dress version. So yeah, I was like looking through my stash for things that might work together, and I got this, which is a linen cotton cone from woollyknit, which I got ages ago, and I made like a top out of, and I held the yarn double for that. I mean, it's like a lace weight or whatever. Yeah, I like that top, it's nice. It's obviously a summery top, so I will be wearing it more again now. But yeah, I thought maybe this would work for the cloudbow because I do have quite a lot of it left, and I wouldn't be holding it double this time, I'd just be holding it in one strand pretty much. And but I also kind of, you know, I'd like to use this, like there's a lot of it left, and I also have another linen cotton linen cotton cone, sorry, in a different colour, in like a reddy pink colour, which I really like, and I would like to also make something with too, but I feel like, you know, I need to like dedicate some time to finishing off one of these or the other. So yeah, I gathered some yarn that I thought might work with it, and I made this swatch. And honestly, like, I think it works really well. I mean, maybe people disagree with me, but I really like how this has come about, or like how it all kind of is fairly cohesive, or like even if it's not, like the tone of the colour kind of works. Like the purple one is maybe the most different, but I feel like there's like an undertone of kind of like brownness that almost like comes out in it that makes it work with the yellow. That this is obviously quite like a dark yellow, or like a, yeah, like a browny yellow. So yeah, I began, and I'm knitting this on 6.5 needles, yeah, and I mean you make panels and then you knit along the panels, so there is quite a lot of like knit purling back and forth, but it's like manageable because it's quite small, and I sometimes do the reverse knitting to like help me with that. But yeah, so this is going to be, I think this is going to be the front panel. Right, I'm like almost done with the size, I think, because it is quite like a high bust, that, yeah, the shape of the dress is. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this is sort of shaping out. Obviously I clearly like mesh dresses. But yeah, so aside from the linen cotton that I'm using, this is the purple, which is the Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, and this one is this one is FC51 mix, which, yeah, is this like heathery purple colour. I actually do have quite a lot of this because I did originally buy some for a shawl, which I still might make, because I mean this is just going to be like accented. The predominant, you know, wool in the dress is going to be this one. But yeah, I will have inserted a picture so you'll kind of get a sense of what the cloudbow is like. I'm also using, I think the original dress is knit in mohair, so, but I wanted this to be like a summery version basically, and like I think I probably can't wear mohair look all over, but I might be wrong, but you know. So, but I did kind of, you know, I wanted to mix up the colours, but again for them to have some kind of like baseline that sort of works together. So I'm using this, which I've like wound up in a really nice skein and is like super beautiful and satisfying. And this is a Fabel knitwear yarn. It's the mohair silk, and it's in the colour capulet, which is 72% kid mohair and 29% silk. And yeah, it's like 50 grams. So that is what I'm using, and so far, especially on the front, I think I'm going to be holding them double, but then in the skirt part of the dress, especially because I'm sure that will need like a lot of yardage, I might just hold it singularly. Or I do also have this kid silk like drops yarn that I can use, and I was thinking either I could then hold it double with one strand of it to make it last longer, or just, you know, be like supplementing it, because it is in my original gauge swatch / test, and I mean it's fine. It's just like a white silvery mohair, like it's not gonna fuck things up a bit. Like it's fine. Yeah, and then the other colour that I have, which I'm also really glad is working, because that's the other reason I guess as well with these yarns, like I only bought one skein of them, but I wanted them to be like really appreciated in whatever I knit with them. So in a way this works really well, because this can be this kind of like background base colour, and then these little pops of like colour and like interesting texture can kind of come to the forward. But yeah, so this is more sort of a brighter yellow, and there is some pink, but again that kind of ties in with the purple, and like I think it all works. But this is also a Fabel knitwear yarn. This is Ask in the colour Spring Meadow, which is 100% Norwegian wool. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's going, and I'm super excited to be knitting it, and I'm like enjoying knitting with these like larger needles, not obviously they're not massive, they're not 12 size, but you know. And yeah, I think the ends are maybe going to be a bit difficult, but that's fine. So yeah, there's that project, which is the most recent cast on project. I guess I will talk about this. It isn't really a work in progress. This is just like a kind of gauge swatch-ish thing that I was doing, trying to figure out if I did know what the pattern was. But basically I think I'm going to make the Pure Fuzz pullover mesh, Pure Fuzz mesh. It's a James N. Watts pattern, and yeah, I think I know what, I haven't bought it yet, but I think I know how to do the pattern. I might be wrong, but anyway, I was like testing out how this would look, because I want to make it with this yarn, yeah, so I was testing out a bunch of different size needles, but I ended up on 9mm needles, which I think is what I will do. The other reason as well is that now I know the pattern is not knit in the round, I might try to change it so that I can knit it mostly in the round, so I'm not purling all the time. Yeah, I started gauge watching this, and I think I will knit it on, but I got kind of obsessed with the cloudbow dress before, so that's what I picked to to start on first. And I'm trying not to overwhelm myself with loads of like cast on projects. Let's see, there was something else. Oh yeah, here we go. Another thing I gauge swatched for, but I didn't like keep going, and I mean, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the plans I had made with this. This was all like knitting that I did sort of do during my like bad pain time, hands time. But basically I like, yeah, so I sort of did this swatch, which is also like a colour swatch for a version of the economy jumper. This is again something that I saw Retro Claude knit. It's a vintage knitting pattern from like the 40s, and it's like one of those make do and mend sweaters where like you have different colours of wool and like different amounts, and it's all kind of pieced together. And yeah, so it has this pattern, and I just sort of tried it out. I can't remember what, maybe like 3.75 was what needle size I used, but anyway, part of this is, I have spoken a bit about this where like, you know, I don't really have enough money to like just buy a jumper quantity of yarn just like that, but I also, you know, I want to give myself like a little treat sometimes, so I've like bought one ball of yarn of one thing or like whatever, but that sort of makes it quite difficult to maybe like make larger projects with. But this is quite a good project for like using up scraps, obviously, or just for using like smaller quantities of yarn. So that's also what I was like playing around with. So I have these onion knit sock yarns, and I just have one of each of these colours. I have some leftover Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight again. This one's yellow. I also have this pink version, which I bought as like a try. I have some leftover of like a marina skua 4-ply yarn, and again I think this is also leftover of a marina skua 4-ply yarn. And then I have this like regia yarn as well, which I thought I could actually use maybe to like tie everything in together, because it's sort of, it has at least like these 3 colours sort of all in it. I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It was sort of like a little project I wanted to do, but I think some of this swatch looks good. I think these 3 colours work really well together. The problem with like red, and especially if there's green in a project, I feel like it does just immediately give off like Christmassy vibes, which I like isn't the vibe I'm going for. So I might just like not include that. I don't know. Anyway, this is so funny to hold up with this. Like obviously I love colour. So yeah, but that's, you know, something that's sort of like percolating at the back of my mind, even if I have like put it away for a little bit. Yeah, we'll see. That also would require a lot of like seaming and also knitting back and forth, although I think a lot of it is in moss stitch, which is a stitch I really like, but it's not necessarily that like hand friendly. Yeah, and then I think those are like the main things that I actually have like sort of in progress or sort of rethought through, so that it's basically like they are in progress. And then the only other things that I think I want to talk about are a couple of my plans. I think I have now unlisted the video, so I don't think you can see it, but I did talk in that video a bit about like how I'd like to knit some leg warmers. I don't think I will knit these anytime soon because the time is not, you know, good, but I don't knit especially quickly, so, you know, making a couple sort of in the future plans is like a good idea. Also, I think over the winter I'm gonna be somewhere really cold, so it would be cool to like knit a couple things to like bring with me for that travel. But I think I have decided I'm gonna make this, which is one skein of malabrigos rios in English rose, into a pair of leg warmers, and they don't have to be super long. I just like to make some cute, maybe like cabled leg warmers. I think I finally decided. Then, like I said, I have, you know, leftovers of this green colour of yarn, and I'm gonna knit a dishcloth. I'm gonna knit a dishcloth for a friend's birthday out of this. I can't decide between two patterns, but it's the same person who's knitted dishcloths I like the most. I think it's called like the kitchen sink shop, and yeah, one of them I already knitted. It's between two designs basically. One of them I already knitted, which is called like Emily's dishcloth, and the other one that I'm like thinking about is called like a speculous dishcloth, which is based on the biscuit, which is like a Dutch, I believe, biscuit. But I don't know, we'll see. The biscuit inspired one has a lot more texture, whereas the Emily one is quite like chill, but it has this nice rounded, it's not round, it's a square, but I just mean like the pattern goes all the way around, and it's kind of like pleasing, and I really like the one that I made in yellow also for a gift. But yeah, we'll see. It won't take me that long, so there's that. The last like project I guess I wanted to talk about that I'm planning, and I think I will start this, whereas even if it is like a warm garment, whereas unlike my leg warmers, which I'm not gonna for a little while, but that is the forest berry skirt by Fabel knitwear. Yeah, I have had the pattern for a while, and I did try out using some of the ask in green that I had, but I just don't think that works for me financially. But I do have this like cone of full ply. I just don't really want to get it. I do have like a cone of like pink like British wool full ply that I think I'm gonna knit it out of, and yeah, I ordered some needles for that, so hopefully they'll come in the next few days. I don't think I'll cast it on like immediately, but maybe after I've knit the gift dishcloth, that's when I will start it, because I'm sure I'll need to knit like a lot of things in between knitting it, because it's going to take me a while, because it's like a whole skirt, and it's not like the cloudbow, which obviously is like holy and like knits up therefore quite a bit quicker. Yeah, I think that's everything like for the knitting that I wanted to talk about, but I guess I did also want to talk a little bit about like some mending stuff that I have to do. Yeah, basically I have this jumper which is pretty old. I've had for like, I don't know, like 5-10 years, who knows, maybe like 8 years, let's go. And yeah, it's pretty simple and cute. I just like it. And basically like the elbows have had holes in, and I patched them up, so on this side this is what that looks like, and I think this is like nice. And then I just undid the side, this side mostly, which yeah, you probably can't, oh yeah, you can kind of see some of the holes, but it is pretty worn and a bit holy. And there were these like felt patches that I made to make into like a nice little shape on there, which was fine, but the way that I had sewed them down on that side, I used like a different thread than on this side, and it just was getting like messier and messier and messier, so like I decided to take that off. But then the other reason I did that as well is because basically this side needs to be repaired Can you see that? Yeah. It needs to be pretty extensively repaired because of these holes under there. Well, I guess not quite under the arm, but yeah. And it's not really picking up, but they go all the way up here, and then yeah, this is the sort of holes on the other side. So it is really pretty holey, but I do want to keep wearing this as long as I can. So I am going to repair it. I mean, I think I might reuse these and just do it differently. But then the other thing that I think I might do is I have this dress, which I do like wearing, but the sleeves are too, well, they're kind of like both too short for me now and also too small. And then also one of them at least has like this hole in it, which obviously I would repair. But then I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how I was going to repair the holes in this sleeve, because I was like, I mean, I guess I could even cut off the whole sleeve, but I don't really want to do that. I want to preserve like as much of the fabric as possible without making it look, you know, really bad. But then what I was thinking is maybe I could cut off the sleeves of this dress and then use the sleeve fabric to patch the holes, something like that, probably over the top, but maybe underneath, I don't know. Because it's, you know, it's pretty like solid fabric, and again, this is another piece of clothing. I mean, I do tend to own my clothes for a really, really long time, so these are pretty old. But yeah, so I thought I could cut these off, and that way I could be getting rid of the tightness of the arms a bit, and then, you know, I'd bind over the edge with like a grosgrain ribbon or something like that. And that way I could still wear this, and obviously I can wear it with like a long sleeve top if I don't want my arms out, or if it's like too cold for that. But I think that would look fine, and you know, it's also a nice way to kind of change up some of my very old clothes. So yeah, I think that is what I'm gonna do with these two things. So hopefully by the next podcast episode I will have done that, or at least begun it. I don't have access to my sewing machine, so it all will have to be hand sewn, which like is okay. And then yeah, I've had this to repair for ages. It's just partially I'm not really sure how to do it. So if you have any tips about like specifically like underarm repairs, then that would be really great to know. But yeah, so basically there are these like holes like right in the underarm seam, and obviously, yeah, again, this is a very old piece of clothing, and I think it's on, yeah, it's on both sides. And I mean, I would like them to be as like unobtrusive as possible, whereas with this, like, it's fine for it to be a bit like flashy, I don't mind. For this I kind of want it to be a bit more discreet, so I'm not really sure how to do it. But I guess, I mean, if I do cut off, I will have some fabric of this left probably, so I could patch it with that. Anyway, that's another thing to do. I think that's, you know, everything I've been knitting, been thinking about knitting, and been thinking about mending. So I think I will leave it there. Let me know if you have any thoughts about what I've said, or yeah, any advice for me, that would be great. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to finishing off things I'm knitting and showing you more of what I'm making, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Take care.